Welcome, everybody, to tonight's episode of Ink and Paint. I'm so happy to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am excited to be joined tonight by my illustrious panel. We have with us tonight Shannon,
Hello, everyone.
Desi,
Bright Suns.
and Miss Allison.
Hello.
Thank you, ladies, for joining me for what I think is going to be a really interesting conversation about childless millennials and going to the parks without kids, which I think is definitely, well, it's how I go to the parks like 99% of the time because I don't have kids. And I know all of you but Desi are in that boat. So I think this is going to be an interesting discussion. By all means, everyone in the chat, love to hear your thoughts and experiences as well. It will definitely be, I think, an interesting conversation, but hopefully remain civil. So to start off with, I want to kick it off with sort of where the whole childless millennial thing came from, which is like late summer of 2019. This thing went around the internet. I'm gonna share it. It was a Facebook post by a mother who was very agitated, let's say, about people without children in the parks. And apparently, the story is she was there with her 3-year-old. The kid wanted a Mickey pretzel. The line was too long. So she told the kid that he had to wait till later to get a Mickey pretzel. And the child started crying. And that was somehow the fault of a woman who didn't have a child with her. That she wanted to like steal the pretzel from the childless woman to give to her child, and then went on and continued the rant to talk about you have no idea what it's like to stand in line for 3 hours with a cranky toddler. It's his vacation too. And then I hate childless women with a burning passion, which I took a little bit personally, maybe because apparently I'm hated by a person I never met, and I don't really feel good when that happens. But um, there was a ton, and I mean, this was picked up on like every local news and some national news as well about this woman who like went insane and ranted about childless millennials just because she wouldn't wait in line for a pretzel for her kid. So let's start by talking a little bit about this. Do you guys remember this? And like, what was the reaction that like you had, or was there like, did you have conversations about this with people you knew in terms of like the whole sort of chaos that this caused and the internet sort of blew up about it for like a day?
Yeah, well, I think this goes hand in hand with the like alcoholics, quote unquote, are now taking over Disney World. Because I distinctly remember around the same time when Abracadabra was announced, and it was this big thing of, oh, the candy shop, the ice cream shop at the boardwalk is now becoming Abracadabra. And it's like how these adults and in that childless millennials are taking over and ruining the parks and spoiling it with terrible things like alcohol. And I'm just happy that it kind of became a big joke around the internet, especially
Mm-hmm.
this post. It really wasn't this banding together of like, yeah, this is a problem. Like these people need to be outlawed. And I'm not saying I disagree with like the people who drink too much at Disney. I get that that's not a good thing. But the childless millennial part was hysterical. And I think if anything, it just gave us more motivation to go to the park solo and do our own thing.
I thought it was, I think the funniest part was that she wanted to skip the line. That if you had a child, that you should be able to skip the line past the people that don't have children.
Yeah, it says in here, she says something
Mothers with
like,
children should be allowed to skip all the line.
right. And like, here's what I want to say to that is like, that's like 50% of people in the parks, probably, maybe more. Like, so you're not really skipping the line because most of the people in line also have children. Like, you do recognize that most of the people in the parks do have children, and so you don't really get to skip the line because they are the line.
Uh, the whole thing just baffles me. At the time this came out, I had a newborn and was pregnant with my second child. Um, so I I just thought it was crazy because up until like a few months before this, I was also going to the park as a childless millennial for several years. And like, why would you take away somebody's enjoyment of something? Like, let people be happy.
So like,
Don't judge.
yeah, and I think that's part of it. And I guess I don't know. So to me, like as I was trying to think about, and I for as much as this blew up, and I think everybody kind of made a big joke about it, and there's a lot of mocking of grammar and use of capitalization, which, as someone who works in the communications field, yeah, that definitely like nails on chalkboard. That writing was nails on chalkboard to me. But
Yeah,
I
I
do
edit grammar
think,
for a living, and
yeah,
that just
it's
hurt
terrible.
my
It's
eyeballs.
I do think there tends to be this dichotomy, let's say, or tension between people with kids and people without kids sometimes in the parks. And I don't know if that's something you guys necessarily see or experience or have felt at all in your sort of travels through the parks. But do you feel any tension? Like, have you ever felt like, people with kids glaring at you when you're not with kids, like you're in their way or something, or even just, sort of the whole like getting run down by a stroller kind of vibe where, or, whatever it is that they somehow think that because they're with kids, you're in their way. Have you ever felt that? Oh, and before we
I,
get into that, I want to shout out to Stephen Crawford, who gave us a super chat. Thank you so much, Stephen. He says, I am a
Yay, thank
childless male.
you.
I go to Disneyland and DCA to watch families. It's a reminder not to have kids. Just kidding. They provide great entertainment in line, better than some queues. So that's definitely, yeah. Sometimes watching other people try to wrangle their children is kind of hilarious, not going to lie. Um,
So when I was a childless millennial, and even now, one of my favorite things to do is Disney bound and go to the parks dressed up, you know, in the theme of one of the characters. And I used to go to the parks just by myself, just because I live in Florida. If I felt like it, I would just go after work randomly or on the
mhm.
weekend, just, by myself. Who cares? Whatever, just to have a good time. And I got strange looks all the time. Like, what the heck is that girl wearing? Is she an adult here by herself? Why doesn't she have any kids with her? Got that look all the time, especially, if my husband had to work or something and I was just there by myself.
Yeah, and we've had, I think one of our first episodes of this show, we talked about the idea of kind of feeling shamed for being an adult Disney fan, which I think I've definitely experienced, not in the parks per se, which I'm pretty grateful for, but certainly outside the parks with people I know from my non-Disney life. I get funny looks, or like, people have asked me point blank, like, why do you like Disney so much? You don't have kids. So I totally feel that, but it's interesting. I don't know, and maybe this kind of gets into the bigger picture too of like some of the tension I think we feel in the parks all the time, evidenced by fights breaking out all over the place, guests assaulting cast members. That there's like this level of frustration sometimes, and people just take it out on each other, even if the person they're taking it out on isn't really at fault.
For your question earlier, like, do you get like looks or anything like that with like the fact that you don't have children? I don't get that too often, but every once in a while, if I'm waiting for a parade or a show or something, and I get there early and I get like a really good spot, like this doesn't happen a lot, but once in a while I'll get somebody that will try to like kind of be like, well, you don't have kids, so our family should go in front of you. So I have gotten one or two of those occasions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel a lot of that, thankfully, but then again, I don't stand around and wait for parades. But I usually feel bad because I'm tall, and so I'm usually blocking somebody's view, especially small people.
On the
Yeah,
flip
I don't.
side, I have a 2-year-old who we were waiting in line for like just the one companion bathroom that they had. And I had a line of adults in front of me with no kids. And I had a toddler pee his pants because we were
Oh
waiting in line for the
no.
bathroom for all these adults who didn't see that there's a little toddler going pee 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 pee
Oh,
pee pee.
That is
So
definitely a
Oh.
situation where, first of all, I feel like the companion restroom should be saved for families.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure there are exceptions, but in general, but yeah, I would absolutely let a family, a mom and a little kid go in front of me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's happened
That's
before.
cool.
Like somebody like a parent's like, oh my god, can like my little kid go ahead? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like let the little
Hmm.
2, 3-year-old go ahead of me, of course.
Yeah. Oh, and another shout out to Stephen Crawford, another super chat for us. I would love to pull off some of these onesies kids wear. Look comfortable as all get out.
me
That
Wear them.
too.
maybe
See,
is
and
a
with
little
Even just wear them
different
anyway.
story.
Just do it.
with that, um, I've always felt like more comfortable in the parks and like dressing up because there are other like weirdos like me by themselves doing that. And I will admit, I recently, and maybe this is like a side effect of the pandemic when spacing was a thing. Like, I think we all got a little touchy when it came to people not keeping their appropriate spacing.
Hmm.
And there was a family behind me not keeping their space, and that they were so close that the child toppled over into the back of my legs. And I like couldn't help but just be aggravated. I didn't say anything to them, but to me, I just wanted to turn around and be like, this is why you're standing too close to me. Your child just fell into the back of my legs. Please take a step back. So I've only had that moment one time. But other than that, like I don't have a problem. I understand that Disney is a place for kids, but it's also a place for adults. That was the whole point. That's what Walt wanted. Walt
Yeah.
wanted us
Yeah.
to be there without kids.
Age
Yeah.
ain't
And
nothing but a number.
exactly. And I think that's, like, I get it. Like, Disney is a place for families, but it's not a place just for families. And I don't know why people think that. Um, and along these lines, so Ashley, my co-host who couldn't be with us tonight, she shared some thoughts about this topic too, which basically her perspective is a lot of those of us who are childless adults, or even just adults who maybe don't have kids yet, they're not necessarily intentionally childless. A lot of us who like going to the parks started going to the parks as kids. Our parents took us. Like, my parents have been taking me to Disney. My family's been taking me to Disney since I was 2 years old. And so I have a ton of nostalgia and love for this place. And that's what I go back for because, like, I grew up going to Disney and I continue to love going to Disney. And I think there's probably a lot of families out there that don't have that experience of, or a lot of individuals, parents who didn't get to come to Disney as kids or only came, once or twice with their families. It's not this experience of like nostalgia. It's almost more like, well, I'm taking my kids to Disney because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take your kids to Disney. And they probably come, and I can totally see if you're a person who hasn't been to Disney in a decade and you bring your little kid and you get there and it's crowded and you've got to deal with all this stuff with the app to order food and book rides and all these things. Like, I can understand getting really frustrated. And I think taking it out on the childless people is kind of the low hanging fruit, the easy target of, well, I'm frustrated with how this experience is going for me. And so I'm going to blame everyone around me because But at the same time, like if there were less people in the park, I don't think they would have that much more of a pleasant experience. Like if you wait half an hour for a ride instead of an hour for a ride, if you have a 3-year old throwing a temper tantrum, like it's still going to be painful, even if you're only waiting half the time.
Yeah, I feel
If
like
I had a 3-year-old throwing a
with this
tantrum, I
individual
wouldn't get be
said,
in line.
what was that?
If my kid was throwing a tantrum, I just wouldn't be in line. I would just leave.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess I'm not
Um,
like paying for this is my once in a lifetime trip. I can just come back next
Mm.
weekend.
that's a good point. For the person that wrote that long thing, I think that's a good point. Like two things. One is, was this person's only time there? Is this like a once in a lifetime thing? And then the second thing is, I feel like she was going, like, if it wasn't that person, like the blame, whoever was in front of her could have been to blame. And it just so happened that there was an individual there that wasn't with a child. It could have been somebody with a double stroller. It could have been a cast member. That's kind
Mhm.
of
And how does
one of
she
my
know that
thoughts. Is just
person was a childless millennial? How does she know?
Right,
Because
exactly.
sometimes, like, my husband will take the boys on a ride while I go get food. How does she know that it wasn't somebody who actually did have kids? She doesn't know.
true. True. That person could have been getting pretzels for her kids who were waiting, on the sidewalk somewhere.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah, it's making a lot of assumptions. And it was sort of, I think the thing that I think is funniest about the comment is like she just like it's not like she was in line for a pretzel and the woman without a child in front of her got the last pretzel and then her kid couldn't have one. Like she
Mm.
just didn't want to wait in that long of a line. Like I have news for you. A, Disney has lines for everything. B, there are like 10 different places to buy pretzels in all of the Magic Kingdom. So maybe you just go to a different place to buy pretzels. Like you walk into the hub and you want popcorn, and the popcorn cart in the hub always has a huge line. But if you walk over to the one in Frontierland, usually it doesn't. Like just be more resourceful. I don't know. I think if I was taking a kid to the park for the first time, I would like try to have a lot of backup plans and like know what I was doing
Mm-hmm.
because a 3-year-old is gonna like have a meltdown at some point. Is gonna get tired, is gonna get frustrated, is gonna get hungry at an inconvenient time, and you plan for that.
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to kind of like talk about is like I do you feel like this is an American thing? Because I know like
Mm.
not that I've gotten to go to like Tokyo Disney, but Tokyo Disney is full of adults who go with their friends. It's not anywhere near as much of a sort of family park the way Walt Disney World is. And even Disneyland, I think, because it's so annual pass holder heavy, is a little bit more adult friendly in this regard, that it's not, sort of the families versus the non families. Do you guys have any experience with that? Do you think that kind of resonates in terms of not seeing this as much in other Disney parks outside of Walt Disney World?
I
You
would
probably see
have
it
to
in France.
say, yeah. My guess would be because of the location, right? If you think about um, Anaheim, if you think about Tokyo, they're near major cities, um, whereas Orlando is it's just a tourist destination. Like outside of
Mm.
that, do you really have a lot of people or industries there where you have adults and young adults working? Not really. I mean, it seems more so now, right? A lot of people are flocking down there, and we're seeing that more now. But I think that's going to take a while to catch up, just because Orlando typically is just a tourist town.
Yeah. I haven't been to the only one outside the country that I've been to was Paris. It was a long time ago. I couldn't even describe to you what it was like there. But my husband and I were supposed to go to Japan in May. That's not happening anymore. But we've been kind of looking into like Japan and Japanese culture and stuff like that. In general, what we found is that like the people that are there, um, you know, try their absolute hardest not to say anything negative. They're like polite as anything, proper as anything. And even if they don't really care for something, they kind of beat around the bush and try to put a positive spin on things. So I can't imagine something like this happening there. I mean, this is a little bit of a generalization because like I've never been there, obviously, but that's kind of what the gist that I've gotten from kind of taking a look at Japanese culture.
I was supposed to be on a phone call with Japan tonight, and I moved it to tomorrow because
What, the whole
of the
country?
show. And no, like the Japan office for my company. And they were very polite about it. They were like, okay, sure, no problem.
Well, thank you for rearranging your schedule to accommodate being on the show, Desi. But yeah, and I think that's some of it. I think there's definitely sort of this like individualism that borders on the risk of acting like I'm more important than you. And whether that's my kid's vacation is more important or whatever, I think we get into a trap sometimes of thinking like the individualism turns into everybody's out for themselves. And I don't think you see that as much in other cultures as you sometimes do in the US.
My ink and paint show is more important than your meeting.
Well, always.
How you
Always.
said it? Is that what you said? Well, listen,
No.
Japan.
It's just a
Prime
matter of
Minister.
how much people actually like accommodate that statement. And some people are more accommodating than others. So, Desi, I wanted to ask you specifically, since you're the only one on the panel who has kids and your kids are young, you have had that experience of being, the childless woman going through the parks by herself, kind of enjoying herself, having a good time. And now you have kids and you take your kids to the park. Has that experience, like, how different is that experience in terms of especially like other people in the parks?
Well, I mean, obviously, I can't do everything that I want to do anymore. They aren't big enough to take on Space Mountain or Rise of the Resistance or any of the like big rides. The older one is now tall enough for the Barnstormer, so that's our big excitement.
Yay!
Yeah. But on the other side, my friends who are still childless millennials, and by choice, they just don't want kids. Um, I I was I thought that my kids still had school on MLK Day, but I had the day off of work. So I was like, oh, I'll meet up with my friends and go to Disney. But then when I found out, oh no, it sounds like school is closed, and I said, hey, is it okay if I bring my kids? They said, let's just plan for a different day.
Oh,
So,
that's so sad.
it's it's like I had these friends that I would go to the parks with all the time, and now it's like a different situation where, you know, they don't they're childless by choice because they don't want to go to the parks with kids and they enjoy their adult lives. So they they prefer the childless experience in the parks, and I don't begrudge them that. It's fine. They're still my friends. I'll find a time to go without kids, but yeah, that part is kind of sad.
That's sad.
It's certainly, shout out to Arch Fox, who gave us a super chat as well. Thank you so much, Arch. Love you too.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's interesting. Like, I think if I were in that situation, Desi, where like I had a friend with a kid who was like, oh, I don't have my kids today. They're in school. Let's go to the parks and hang out. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait, no, actually, I'm bringing my kids. I think it's just you have to shift mindset so much of what that experience is going to be like. So it's tough.
No, I
Like I
get
think
it.
it's hard, but it's like how do you it's such a vastly different experience. And
Hmm.
I think, that's one of the things in terms of keeping in mind sort of everybody's perspective. Like, I guess if you're going to get mad about people without kids in the parks, do you get mad about people without kids outside the parks? Because I think it's, it's hard to take a kid to the parks. It's hard to take a little kid to the park. But it's also hard to take a little kid to the grocery store. It's hard to take
That's
a
true.
little kid pretty much, anywhere with like you constantly need to make sure they're entertained or otherwise occupied so they're not, running around, getting into stuff, potentially hurting themselves, running into other people. Like you have to constantly be monitoring that. And the parks are nice in the sense that they give you all of these opportunities to like engage for kids to engage and be entertained. And yet, it's still, if you're stuck waiting in line for 3 hours, it's still tough. So I don't know.
That reminds
It's def-
me of, saying that you have to shift your mindset. One of the first, maybe not one of the first, but when I started coming on these shows, I said something on a show that I won't say it now, just in case kids are watching, but I said something that I didn't realize you shouldn't say in front of kids. And I just don't realize that because I don't have children in my life in any way, shape, or form. I will have a niece soon, so that will change my life for the better. But you don't realize. I would still, if I had a friend though, who like, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, yes, come bring your child with us. But I may struggle getting out of my adulthood.
I do miss
certainly.
the like freedom to be able to do things at the drop of a hat. So, for example, when the Polynesian bungalows, when we had like at the last showing of Happily Ever After, and we had all of our wigs there, I had my husband watch the kids, and I was able to say like that day to my friend, hey, do you want to come to Happily Ever After? Come watch Happily Ever After with me, the last one. And she's like, yeah, I'm all in. I would never be able to do that now. If somebody was like, hey, last minute, let's go to
Mhm.
the parks or let's go do something. But I do love seeing the parks through my kids' eyes and
Yeah.
being able to see them enjoy things for the first time and experience things and get so excited. And
That's
they think that like Mickey is just one of their friends that they go visit regularly.
Oh,
And that's definitely, I was actually thinking that a few minutes ago, that whole idea of not of getting to see the parks through kids' eyes, and you talking about your niece Shannon. I The first time I experienced Disney with kids was when Jason's kids were little, and I remember we came down when his oldest daughter was 2, and just being able to like watch her experience the parks was amazing. And it wasn't, I just to like clarify, I guess it's not like I don't want to say I would never come to the parks with kids because I do. It's just sort of that like last minute idea of you thought you were going to do one thing in the park and now it turns out you're going to be doing something completely different. But there is that joy of like getting to watch kids experience things and light up and get so excited when they see Mickey Mouse or whoever their favorite character is. And even when they get older, I mean, my nieces are older and they still have things they love doing, and watching them have fun in the parks is such a rewarding experience. It's just, it's going in with a different mindset that that's what you're going to do.
something funny is that so I'm an only child. I'm not an aunt. I have cousins that came down. They're young, but like for my wedding, and we didn't really spend that much time in the park together. We just kind of met up like very briefly. One of the only times that I've ever walked around Disney with kids was with Desi, because I don't have I'm
I was about to
there's
ask,
no
do you mean
children
with
in my
me?
family. With you, that was one of the only
Yeah.
times. Was
When we went to
walking around
Skipper
with you.
Canteen.
Yes, then that was not that long ago. I don't. I'm. It's me and everybody else in my family is either a lot older or a lot younger, and most of my friends. I can't think of a friend off the top of my head besides Desi that has kids. So my perspective is almost purely just without kids. So it's very
I
hard for
think
me to kind of compare the two.
of my Disney friends, I only have one friend with kids. The rest of them are childless millennials.
Most, yeah, I have a couple, and the rest are all, they're not millennials. So, and I guess to clarify, I think we're probably expanding beyond the millennial topic, but we're definitely, I think, sticking in the childless lane. But all because I definitely have friends that are not millennials. But most people I go to the parks with don't have kids, and occasionally I do, but for the most part, that's just the not even remotely close to the majority of people I hang out in the parks with.
And my one friend who has kids, who's also a Disney fan, we have planned trips to Disney together, knowing that the kids were in school or with our husbands. We did one trip where it was like all the kids and husbands, and it was too much. So can only have so many toddlers at a time without it turning into chaos.
I can imagine. I always I get so scared of those huge family groups where you've got 15 people
Yeah.
and there's the full range of ages from 0 to 100, and they're managing in the park somehow, and I'm just like, oof, that's a lot of work. More power to you for making that happen, but that is a lot of work. There are a
It's hard
lot of
enough to
different
wrangle a
interests.
whole bunch of adults
I
to
know, right?
to agree on something. I don't know how you get people of different ages and heights and everything to agree and round them all up.
Right, exactly. So I've also asked all of you to share some pictures and tell some stories of fun childless millennial experiences. So I kind of want to turn this into the positive side of not so much talking about the difference between people with kids and people without kids, but just to talk about whether you're someone who doesn't have kids or you just happen to be in the parks without kids, the fun stuff that's out there to do. Because I think there's absolutely, and as we've talked about, that sort of bias that, oh, Disney is for people with kids. And there's a ton of people out there who do not understand how much fun Disney can be for adults. So I'm going to start with the pictures Allison shared. And you can kind of talk us through some of these. And then just if
Sure.
you have stories or fun stuff that you've done to talk about it.
I love the gimbal.
Oh, I'm wearing the same shirt.
What a coincidence.
I'm live streaming in this picture. So yeah, I mean, all of my live streams are just me having a good time.
And sometimes
without kids,
me.
just by myself. What was that?
And sometimes me. I come too.
And sometimes Desi as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes with
I've
Desi.
joined you on a live stream or two.
Yeah. But I mean, I have a great time, and it's just me and a couple hundred people just virtually. I have a great time, just relaxing, going with the flow, and going. Oh, you want to go here? Yeah. You want to go here? Yeah.
I want to know how you can live stream with a gimbal in your hand and do Buzz Lightyear at the same time.
Yeah, it's so good.
Because to me, Buzz Lightyear is a two-handed experience, and I don't know how you manage that.
I will say
What's
that
funny?
Allison and I did this on a live stream once. She held the gimbal and did Buzz Lightyear and still beat me, even though I had both of my hands.
Wow. That's amazing.
We took bets, not really bets, but we kind of asked the live chat. They're like, who's gonna win? How many points are we gonna get? It was a good time. It was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. Oh, and Stephen Crawford, again, thank you so much. We have another super chat.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
glad I can go to the park since I don't have Oh,
Oh,
okay. He's
he just
editing
deleted
his
his
message.
message.
We'll come back to you.
Well, thank
All
you.
right. Next picture from Desi. I love this one. This one makes me
That's
so
Allison.
happy.
It's me.
Stuck in the
It's
middle. Well, and you're big in the wilderness explorers, so this picture is perfect for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's just to kind of illustrate, like, you know, sometimes I like people feel a little awkward going like doing meet and greets with the characters because they feel like they have to have a child with them for it to seem appropriate. And at first, I did feel a little awkward to do it just by myself, meeting characters. But this is one of my favorite pictures of all time because look at the pure joy that is on my
Yes.
face. I'm
Yes.
sandwiched between Russell and Doug, and I am just having an absolute great time and just by myself. And I was an adult and I had a conversation with these characters and I had a great time. I wasn't awkward at all.
And
I
who would
just
begrudge
so
you that experience?
we're going to come back to this, I think, a couple of times over the course of this because I definitely have some character meet and greet experiences and stories too, and a couple of pictures of that. But I used to think that meet and greets were for kids. And then I had a friend, another childless, not millennial, but sure, she'd be flattered if you thought she was a millennial. And we would go to the parks, and she loved doing photo pass pictures. And so she would be like, come on, let's go do photo pass with the characters. And this is pre-COVID, so you could still go up and meet the characters. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if that it's fine. I'll go do it because you want to do it, but it's not my thing. And then I realized it's really fun. And sometimes you can have like really stellar character interactions that are hilarious and or like bizarre or just memorable for whatever. And then you have a picture to show for it later. I have a great picture of me with Donald Duck, where he was like being all cute and flirty. I have a great picture of me with
Aw.
Kylo Ren, who is like doing his like creepy Kylo Ren thing.
He
Um,
wasn't also being
just,
flirty.
I mean, I was maybe being flirty with him. I'm not sure that he was being flirty with me, but a girl can dream. Um, but it's just, it's it's one of those things that if you're an adult who goes to the parks and you go to the parks a lot and you enjoy it and you thought that character experiences were not for you, I definitely like recommend. Of course, now we can't do it, but when they come back, I definitely recommend you give it another try because that has been one of my like revelations about going to Disney as an adult is that character meet and greets are actually a lot of fun.
Yes.
But we'll go back to Allison's pictures. Oh, I love this one. Speaking of live streaming,
That was Jill, was it me, you, and Eric Morton, I think?
I think that's Eric
We're
on the
live
other side of
streaming.
it. Yes. Yep.
I think that's Eric. But
Yep.
yeah, so just going to the parks at friends. Um, it doesn't feel like lonely at all going without children. You don't feel like you're missing out. I was having a great time with people, and there I am caught in the act of scaring Jill.
I was holding the gimbal for the live stream, and I'm like, okay, so live streaming on Dinosaur is extremely challenging because you are like rocking all over the place in that ride vehicle, and you're paranoid that like you're gonna lose the phone. And so I'm like trying really hard to like hold on tight, make sure it doesn't go anywhere, but also like try to show people on the live stream as much as I can the ride, even though it's really dark. And like Allison like reaches behind me and like taps me on the shoulder to freak me out. And I
I'm
was just
so
like,
scared of Dinosaur.
it was hilarious. It was the funniest thing. And I was just like, oh, and it was just not a thing I expected from Allison. It was a good time. It was a good time.
Even if you're not a kid, you can act like a kid and have a great time.
Yeah. You can still act like a kid. But that was a fun one. This is such a cute picture. I
Oh,
with your balloon and just adorable.
Thank you. And I think I got a balloon like once before that, but this balloon had Baymax on it, so I had to get it. So I was just walking
Oh.
around with me and my little balloon, and I was having a lovely little time. And also, like, there's souvenirs that they have. People would say, balloons are just for kids. No, I had a lovely time with my balloon walking around Main Street.
I
no
feel like
shame.
that's something, if balloons weren't like $20, I feel like that's something I might want to try. But that seems like a really big investment. I don't know. But now that Wishables are $15, maybe it doesn't sound so bad.
Hmm.
Oh, and here you are with another friend because adults can hang out together in
Yeah,
the parks, which is so fun.
that's me and my friend Chelsea. She was my maid of honor at my wedding. She flew down not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, and the what's great is, I mean, neither of us have children, but this reminds me of this one time where we're at I forgot we were. I think maybe it was like Disney Springs, and we just saw like a family of five, like the mom, dad, and three kids, and they all had this like really great, beautiful ice cream with them, and I'm like, that's very lovely. And then the other thought that I had was, oh my goodness, how expensive was this visit to
Yep.
just get ice cream for
Yeah,
everybody in our park, just having ice cream. So I can just go get I can go get food, and I don't have to worry like, oh man, like I have to really think like, okay, but if I want food, it costs this. But if my whole family wants food,
it costs
then
4 times
now the
that.
price just jumped up.
Yeah.
So last weekend, by the way, I went to Cinderella Castle and we only had to pay for 2 adult meals because I still have like 2-year-olds. So,
Okay.
but once they turn 3, I am
Mm.
not looking forward to the bills that I'm going to have to start paying.
It's that magic
Oof.
cutoff point of like, oh, suddenly your kids aren't free anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be rough.
So I had to get in that Cinderella Castle experience before I had to pay for them.
Yeah,
Very nice. Yeah, and
very
okay, so the first and only time I've been to Cinderella's royal table was as an adult, at a table full. There was one child with us, and the rest were all adults, and we had a great time. And it was like, I know, like royal table is kind of geared more towards kids and the princess thing and whatever, but we had a really good time, and it's interesting because I think even stuff that's sometimes really oriented towards kids, adults can still have a lot of fun doing if they love Disney and they have the right, sort of frame of mind about it. But we'll go back to Allison's pictures. This one's adorable. Allison's good at being adorable in the
nice.
parks.
Not only am I not with children, but there's not a single person around me
No.
either. So I'm
Yeah.
really by myself. What I do sometimes, and I did this on an episode of Ink and Paint a while ago. The one like, how do you do Disney? And I
Hmm.
sent in a video of me like power walking, and that was
Yeah.
one of my
Yes.
days where, and I went and I just did a power walk around Animal Kingdom, and
Nice.
that this just kind of illustrates that I can kind of be more flexible in my schedule, where I can just kind of drop what I'm doing and just right from work be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go do a power walk around Animal Kingdom, and I could just go and do that.
Aw, Chief Leaf gave us a super chat as well. Thank you, Leaf. Remember,
Oh,
if someone
thanks,
finds
Chief.
happiness in trying to prove they're better than others, it just shows how unhappy they really are. Great discussion, ladies. Thank you, Leaf. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Oh,
That's right.
All right. And we
that's
got
very
one more from
nice.
Allison. Haunted
Oh, there's me and my
Mansion
husband
photo
Lucas.
pass. Yeah. Of course, on
Yeah.
Mansion. That seems very fitting.
Yeah, me and Lucas, we're just enjoying our childless millennial selves on Haunted Mansion. And if you notice, I'm wearing a WDWNT pin in that picture as well.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
But that's it.
Cool. All right. So next I am going to flip over to Desi's pictures. I
These
love
were
this one that we're
all
starting with.
pre-kids.
Oh God,
Oh,
Okay.
it's so
Love
pretty.
this.
how are you so
So
dang
This
stunning? I hate it.
Desi
this
is so good
was
at, yeah, she's so good at looking fabulous in the parks.
this is Dapper Day a few years ago before I had kids. But this was one of those days that I didn't feel as weird about dressing up and going to
Yeah,
Disney because
Dapper Day is good
everybody
that
else
way.
was dressed that way.
Yep.
But for the people who don't realize it's Dapper Day and show up and see everybody dressed like this, it's just so funny to see the looks on their faces like, what is going on?
The first time I ever went to the park for Dapper Day, I didn't know, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening here?" Like, and it's more just like this sort of lack of understanding of like why people want to be dressed what is to me so uncomfortably in the heat of the parks. Like they're wearing like, these elaborate get-ups and especially the shoes. I think the shoes are what kill me more than anything else because you
Yeah.
see girls walking around in these like giant heels and I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand how people can do that.
I wear flip flops until it's time to take a photo, and then I put my heels on. That's
Ah,
my
Fantastic.
Smart.
hack.
That's
I like it.
yes. And we have Stephen, thank you. He came back because we missed the previous comment on his super chat. Glad I can go to the parks. Legoland will not sell me a ticket since I don't have kids. I did not know that Legoland will not sell
Is
tickets
it?
to people. I had no idea. That's
I
crazy.
didn't know that.
No way. That's
That's kind
insane.
of that's kind of messed up. That's kind of messed up. All
Interesting.
right,
Sad.
Desi, another one of my favorite. Here's one of your
Oh,
Disney bounds.
Yes.
So cute.
Well, when you were talking about character interactions, this one was one of my favorites just because I got to dress up like Lilo and meet Lilo, and like everybody around us, even the people with kids, were like, "Oh my God, that's so cute. That's adorable." And Stitch was even there and like looking at Lilo and looking at me and looking at Lilo and looking at me like, "Oh, which one's the real Lilo?" It was adorable.
That's
oh my
awesome.
gosh.
That's
That's
awesome.
very cute.
So
Aw.
this was the day that Harry married Meghan, and I felt like I needed to go have my little royal experience as well. And so
Awesome.
I dressed up and went to meet the princesses, and Tiana asked if I wanted to dance with her. So there we go.
Amazing. That's an awesome dress.
That's
I love
very
that.
cool.
Thank you. I got that dress to watch The Lion King on Broadway. It felt like a Lion King dress.
That
And now
was fun.
here, speaking of Buzz
I
Lightyear.
only included this one because Allison included hers.
Whereas Allison can ride Buzz Lightyear one-handed, Desi two-fists Buzz Lightyear. I love it.
Does
I
it count
can't
as
believe-
Galactic Hero if I get Galactic Hero like totaled?
Combines? Maybe.
Combined,
I think I
yeah.
would give it to you. I think I would give it
I
to
would
you.
give it to you.
So this, my friend Joy is a childless millennial from Georgia and flew down here, and she said the only thing she wanted to do was eat a churro and go down Splash Mountain. That was her one goal for the whole trip. So
Can
that's what we did. We ate churros while going down Splash Mountain.
Fantastic.
I love
Can
it.
we just shout out the two people in the middle row? Those men look like they're having
Yeah, right?
a great time. It's bringing me
They're so
joy.
happy.
I love it. See, look how many years of having fun as adults in Disney we have to look
Yes.
forward to, is what that
Except
makes
for
me
the
think.
front row.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No.
They're a little
The
unhappy.
front row's like, we made a mistake.
They're questioning their life. Oh.
And this is gorgeous.
Oh, God, I love
This
it.
is one of those things that's like, I found these friends on Instagram because we're just all Disney adults, and it was before I had kids. And so we dressed up in our matching t-shirts and ears and took this photo, which I don't even know if they're still doing this photo. I
I
haven't
don't
seen
think
it
they're
recently.
doing it. I don't think they've done it again since COVID. I don't think.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
seeing a lot.
The lantern
But
photo op.
it's one of my favorite photo ops. So I love having friends who are also Disney adults who enjoy going, even without kids.
I will use this opportunity to plug Deep in the Plus tomorrow night. It is
100th.
the 100th episode, and we are doing Tangled because Tangled was the 50th Disney movie, the Disney animated feature, and it's the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. So if you're a Tangled fan, check out Deep in the Plus tomorrow night.
Yes.
And then Desi, I love this one too. This is our last one from you.
Wow.
So cool.
So again, being with my other Disney friends, we stayed until, so we, like, right before park closing, decided that we were hungry, and we got a burger at what's the one with Sunny Eclipse? Why am I drawing a blank?
Cosmic
Cosmic
Rays.
Cosmic Rays.
Yes. So I went to Cosmic Rays right before it closed and got a burger, and then as we left, we realized everybody is gone.
Yep.
So we took this photo, and it was such a great time and such a great experience to be able to see an empty hub, empty Main Street.
Yeah. I've been able to be in the park this late a couple of times, and it's such an awesome experience. Actually, it was one of my favorite hanging out in the parks with a whole bunch of adults. It was 2019. I think it was around the same time as the studio's 30th anniversary. I think it was that same trip. And there was a VI pass holder night in Magic Kingdom. And so a bunch of us, I mean, like a dozen of us from WDWNT went to the VI pass holder night together and just roamed through the parks like a gang, like childless, and just, running from ride to ride because there were no waits for anything. And it was one of my first experiences hanging out in the parks with a lot of people all at once. And it was so fun.
Cool.
All right. Next up, we're going to share Shannon's pictures. So Shannon, you sent us a bunch of ride photos. I'm like, I need an explanation of this is what I was.
There's nothing more funny to me than riding solo and getting these pictures with strangers. I love it so much. You can barely even see me. Like, Disney, why am I going to pay for this picture? Can you even see me in the top corner there?
Yeah.
Oh, but I have fun with it.
Oh wait, this isn't another one of your ride photos, but
this is okay. Please pardon my morning face. But this is just an example of have no shame if you don't have children. Like Allison was saying with the ice cream, like thinking about all those costs. And I don't have children, therefore I like to treat myself. As Rob likes to make fun of me, I like the finer things in life, so I splurge for the water view and I enjoy my coffee. And I can do that because I don't have multiple people to pay for, and you shouldn't feel guilty about that.
No, I enjoy splurging too, and Rob's just jealous. Don't worry.
What's great is when you're a dink. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm. Dual income, no kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, so this was my very first time back to the parks after they reopened. So this was end of August, 2020, and so no one was there, and me and this PhotoPass photographer just like let me have a photo shoot, and we had so much fun, just capturing fun pictures like this. Yeah, and I was like, thank you so much for being here, and he was like, thank you for being here, and we just started our mornings off like just having niceties and being thankful for what we have. So that was a great memory.
Awesome.
I was by myself too.
It looks like my brother just showed up in the chat, which is good timing because after Shannon's pictures, we'll get to mine, and there's a couple with Jason in them. So Jason, your timing.
Yes.
I love this picture so much, Shannon.
Oh, so cute.
Thank you. Yeah, well, so those are real ballet slippers, and let me tell you what a mistake it was to wear those in the parks. I'm not smart like Desi. I didn't bring a second pair of shoes. But so I loved pre-COVID Nikki's Not So Scary Halloween parties. Love it, love it, love it. From the first day I ever did it. So this is the only time I really do like dressing up. I don't typically do cosplay. But I had to go all out on this trip, and it was amazing. Highly recommend.
Awesome. Love it. Such a good outfit. Such a good outfit.
Thank you. This was my last trip before the pandemic, and I ran the marathon. Just another, thing that you can do as an adult. And I love Run Disney. Hopefully we'll get to talk about it someday down the road, but I am not a big character meet and greet person in general. I'm kind of like you, Jill. Like, I haven't gotten there yet, but Run Disney is an opportunity that I always take for character meet and greets because they're typically unique and you can literally run by and like snag a picture and keep going, and you don't have to worry about, trying to interact awkwardly with the characters if you're not so good at it. So yeah, Run Disney holds a special place in my adult Disneyhood.
That's awesome. I'm excited. In a couple weeks, the princess race will be my first ever Run Disney race, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you're gonna have so much fun. Yeah. Oh, this was also that first day back, and just stopping to smell the roses or to say hi to Roy.
I have a picture of me on this bench with like no one else around from like that very first week the parks reopened. So I have like almost an identical picture.
Yeah, and I know I've said this a lot.
Now, I feel like I've been spoiled by the pandemic. I know that sounds crazy, but like I was spoiled by empty parks, and I miss that.
Yeah, so true. I was hoping that this picture was going to be clear enough that my face is covered in sweat. So where Desi is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, this is my hot mess. The point I really wanted to make with this picture was, so I was here by myself. My family wasn't there. They had come down several days later. But when you're there by yourself with no one holding you back, you can power through. And if that means becoming absolutely drenched, and this was when masks were mandatory outdoors, it was a terrible time we never want to go back to. But
that's rough, especially in the summer.
Hot mess express. So do your thing, hustle, get on those rides. I especially now with Genie Plus in the mix, I highly recommend everyone get up early and hustle your little butt around, get a good sweat. It's the best part about being in Disney.
I recommend the exact opposite. Just relax. Take your time.
Oh, I love this.
Don't build up.
Here's another one of your ride with
Look
other
at this
random strangers.
Matching hoodies. So those hoodies like unzippered in the front and back. So you notice how like they're both wearing half of the jacket. Mm-hmm. This is great. This made this pictures with strangers. I love it. I can't get enough. I hope these people can see this.
There's another one.
Yeah, that was I was like Instagram live or taking a video. Came out pretty good. But yeah, the family in the back. Wasn't it so nice when you just had a ride vehicle basically to yourself?
The one that I miss the most is Smuggler's Run, having that ride vehicle to myself.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And
to me that was weird. I didn't like that.
Guaranteed pilot without having to worry about like this other family and wanting their little kids to be pilot.
I liked it when it was like me and other people, but if I was riding by myself, I don't think Smuggler, like to me, like being literally the only person on Smuggler's Run is really weird.
I haven't done it like by myself. I've gone with one other friend, and so we were both pilots.
I did it completely alone once, and it was so bizarre. This is hilarious.
So funny.
Guys, if you can't already tell, I had the most fun on this trip by myself with no kids. And it's just great because I hope I'm not ruining this picture for them, but like they need to have a little more fun, and I'm going to bring a little spark to their photo.
They look pretty sullen. Their body language says sullen to me.
I didn't want to put their faces on TV. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. Run Disney is the perfect opportunity. And Lotso, he knew. I was just dropping in for a second. Just a quick hi, a snap of a photo, and I'm on my way. the best way to do character meet and greets, I think.
So good. All right.
The
And
fern
so
barrier too.
I'll wrap this up with my pictures of me having fun with my various, both alone and with my various non or well, adult friends without kids. Not that all of them don't have kids, because Jason's in some of these pictures, but this is one of my favorites. This is me and Axel
Aw.
in the diving bell
Fun.
at Jock Lindsay's, which is like my favorite seat in my favorite bar in all of property during Christmas
I've
time. And
only
I
gotten that
love,
once.
I've randomly gotten it like 3 or 4 times, and like purely by
Ooh.
luck, not by asking, just purely by luck that it worked out that way. But uh, good times. But again, like, in terms of, yes, Disney makes places for adults without kids to go have fun. Jock Lindsay's is like perfect example of that.
Yep.
This is me and my two best friends from home. So after I moved down here, they've come down to visit me a couple of times. This is us at the dock bar at Boathouse at Springs.
Nice.
Love that bar. It's a good
And
one.
then this is us in the park together, doing the castle selfie shot.
Of course.
This is one
Oh
of
my
my
gosh.
favorite pictures of all time. We were okay, so Jason's the only person in this picture with kids. We were at Epcot on 4th of July last year, and like just wound up like squatting through Epcot. That's the term I use, squatting. Where you just have a squad of people and you just kind of roll through the parks. And Epcot is the best park for it. And 4th of July was the best day for it. And we went and some of us had breakfast at Beach Club in the morning. And then we just rolled through Epcot, stopping here and there, having drinks, watching the performance. I think Voices of Liberty was singing at the American Gardens Theater. And we just had a great time. We went on the American Adventure together. It broke down like halfway through the show.
Oh my
like
God.
just like such random fun. And we stayed all night. It was still Epcot Forever back then. And we like stayed and made fun of Epcot Forever. But we had such a good time just like hanging out in the parks together. And that's like, to me, like the best part of Disney without kids is, yes, Eric's in there. Axel, Emma, Jason, some other friends of WDWNT. But like this is one of my favorite PhotoPass pictures of all time.
No, it's so good.
This was at Stage 89, at our Stage 89 event. So we had all of this Hollywood Studios stuff, and so we got director Mickey to come out. But in the vein of, I love doing character meet and greets. I was dressed up because we were running an event and I wanted to look nice, so I felt like pretty dapper, hanging out next to director Mickey.
I thought you were dressed like that on purpose.
Character meet and greets, definitely love. Chewbacca was hilarious. This was an after hours event at Hollywood Studios. And it was during the studio's 30th anniversary, so we got to do all of these different, like we did all these different character meet and greets. We did BB-8, and we did Chewbacca, and we did Kylo Ren, and then they had the Jawas were out, which was really cool. And then
That's cool.
they also had the Ewoks out, which was this was so fun. Yeah, so I got to do.
I am so jealous right now.
Yeah. This is like one of my like meet and greet feathers in my cap is this one right here.
I feel like Allison and I could definitely be friends with Ewoks.
Yes, they are shorter than you, Allison.
Wow.
This is Villains After Hours. So I was actually this isn't entirely fair because I was in the parks this night with my nieces, but they had dropped a new merchandise line, and I like ran off to go take pictures of it for WDWNT. And so on my way back to meet up with my family, I like stopped and did this solo picture in front of the castle. But I was like running through the park because it was pretty empty for an after hours event. and I could just like run through the parks. It was a lot of fun. And like, so I'm running, and all of a sudden I see that there's nobody at this photo pass line, and I just like literally like stopped, like cartoon style, where like you hear the brake squeal as you stop running. And I was like, I need to stop and do this photo pass op.
Oh,
This is
fun.
another one of my favorites. Hanging out in Epcot with a random gang
Oh,
of WDWNT folks. Rob's in there, Nick's in there, Pete. So we're standing there getting ready to take the picture, and like as the photo pass photographer is like, "Is everybody ready?" Pete just like grabs me and picks me up for the picture. I had no idea that was gonna happen.
it looks so
I love
good.
it.
And then this was I saved the best for last. This was my favorite
What is she doing?
character. This is my favorite character meet and greet of all time because Jesse got like super friendly with me.
Oh my God.
So I'm wearing a studio's 30th anniversary t-shirt, like the day of 30th anniversary t-shirt. And Jesse was trying to like pantomime to me that what was on my t-shirt is where we were. As in, my t-shirt was Hollywood Studios, and we were standing in Hollywood Studios, and I wasn't getting it. Like, you can see the look on my face that I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. Why are you touching me? It's like, am I gonna have to call somebody?
Oh my God.
I need an adult.
And then I finally understood what was happening, and I just like laughed and laughed and laughed so hard. It was like, but it was so like, and I just again can't recommend enough how much I love doing character meet and greets now as an adult, which is not something I ever like thought I would be into, but I so can't wait until they come back. But yeah, so those, and I wanted to tell one other quick story, which was even in terms of enjoying other childless millennials in the parks. There's one time I was in studios by myself, and I rode Rise, and I wound up getting put in a ride vehicle with a party of 5. I think there were 3 guys and 2 girls who were probably in their like mid to late 20s. So I'm not even sure if I guess that still counts as millennials. I'm honestly not sure where the cutoff is. The guys were clearly big Star Wars fans, and it was the first time they had been on the ride. And being in the ride vehicle with them while they were experiencing the ride for the very first time was like so much fun because they were all so like excited and blown away, and oh my god, look at that, and oh my god, look at, and I just like I had so much fun, and it made the ride like so much better for me to be along with them as they got to experience it. So sometimes even other groups of childless millennials can be fun when they're not yours, is what I would say.
Yeah,
Sure.
I bring friends that have either hardly been to Disney or
Mm-hmm.
have never been to Disney, and it's like you say, seeing it through the eyes of a child is so heartwarming. But seeing it through the eyes of somebody who has never seen it, even if they're an adult, is also very magical.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes
My
it's just that joy
husband
of it being new to other people.
my husband was kind of like an anti-Disney person before we got together. And so when I took him back to the parks for the first time, he was pretty resistant. Like, "Ugh, really, you're really going to drag me to do this?" But then afterwards, he was like, "Thank you so much. That was so much fun. I'm sorry that I doubted you that Disney could be fun for adults." And even now, after having kids and being together 9 years, we still will take days where we leave the kids, with grandparents or at school or something, and we will just have a daddy mommy date day at Disney World.
Well, and that's an excellent plug for our next episode of Ink and Paint in 2 weeks, which happens to fall on Valentine's Day. And so we're going to share stories of and talk about like our favorite places to go in Disney for dates, which should be interesting because I don't know that I have that much experience to share with people, but I'm happy to moderate the discussion.
I saw you on Valentine's Day last year at Hollywood Studios
I
because
was
you were
in Hollywood
doing
Studios.
Galentine's Day with Cookie
Yes.
Boss.
Oh
Cookie
yeah,
Boss and I
I
live
was supposed
streamed
to do that with
together.
you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you couldn't like at the last minute. But we
I was sick. I don't remember what it was.
yeah, we had a good time hanging out in the parks. I will actually I consider Galentine's Day to be the day before Valentine's Day, per Leslie
Huh.
Knope of Parks and Recreation. And
Yeah.
I will actually be in New York with my girlfriends for Galentine's Day this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Galentine's Day
Fun.
is also a
Oh,
Super Bowl
Yay.
Sunday, so that's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But so anybody, we're over our usual time allotment, so I think we can wrap up for tonight. And I want to thank you all for joining me. If anybody does anybody have any sort of last comments about being in the parks without kids? Any public service
Being
announcements or other?
being at the parks without kids is wonderful. Being at the parks with kids is wonderful. Just being at the parks is wonderful. So let people have fun how they want to have fun.
Agreed.
Very good message.
Agreed.
Yeah. Let live and let live. Let everybody have their fun. No one's judging you for the fun you're having, so don't judge them for the fun they're having. And sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you have to wait in line for a Mickey pretzel. It's just how it works.
That's it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us out there. As I said, our next show is in 2 weeks on February 14th for Valentine's Day. We'll be talking about date spots in the parks and around Disney. So we hope you can join us then. And until then, have a lovely evening and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.